Hello, everyone. We are back and we are in our section of our world tour learning about food staples. Here we're learning about our plant based food staples, which make up 90% of the world's food. And so we've been going around the world. We've been in North America, we have been in South America, we crossed the Atlantic Ocean over to Europe. We went down to Africa, and now we're over in this big landmass here on the right-hand side of the slide, which is Asia. This is the biggest landmass in terms of size, and it is such an interesting country. There's so many various regions of this country and so many different foods. And I'm just going to give you a little tiny idea of some of the staple foods that are in Asia, that come from Asia. So remember what a staple food is it's usually plant-based. It grows very easily in the various regions in the different countries, and it makes up a large portion of a population's diet. So here we are in Asia. We're going to jump over here. First, let's look at the world map like we do in each of these lessons. The world map is here in green at the bottom of the slide, and the black arrows are pointing to the continent of Asia. Now, Asia is huge, it's very large, and it consists of lots of different countries. So again, we are just getting an idea of what staples grow here the best and what makes up a large portion of Asian food and Asian diets. You can see here in Asia that a lot of these island nations are part of Asia. So, all of Indonesia, which is here at the bottom, right between Asia and Australia, this area is called Indonesia. It's considered part of Asia. We have Japan, which is an island country. I wish you could see my pointer, but it's an island country off the coast of Asia here. And we have a lot of coastline here. So, as you can imagine, there is a lot of seafood that goes on, a lot of fishing that goes on here, and a lot of seafood that comes from that. But for now, we're going to talk about the staples that come out of here. So, first, we have rice. Rice grows really plentifully in Asia. There are big rice paddies that are basically big croplands, and rice plants grow in them, and they're filled with water. So the rice grows really well in these kinds of areas. You can see over here, if you look in the yellow portion that's titled the land in Asia, there's a lot of flat land, and these are rice paddies that I've shown you here. So you can see kind of what a rice paddy looks like. And these are rice plants, and the rice actually grows inside of the stalks of these plants. So in other lessons, we'll get more into rice itself. Rice is an amazing staple food, and without rice, a lot of the population would go hungry. So rice is really important, and it grows very plentifully in Asia. Back to the staples, we have rice and then soybeans also. If you've ever been to a sushi restaurant or a Japanese restaurant, you can order edamame for a appetizer, which are steamed soybeans, steamed and salted soybeans, and that's what you is pictured here. Soybeans make the basis of a lot of different foods as well here in North America as well as Asia and really all over the world, but they grow very plentifully in Asia. They also grow in North America, but Asia is a huge producer of soybeans. And a lot of the Asian foods, have soybeans included in them. And then there's many regional staples as well. They have beans and all different kinds of things in Asia, being such a large continent. But two of the more well-known staples are rice and soybeans. You can see in this picture of the rice here, you can see what the rice plant looks like before it's harvested. So it has these little pods, and inside of those little pods are the little grains of rice. And the way that they harvest rice is really interesting. It's really different than wheat or any other staple plant. And we'll get into that more when we get into the courses that are on specific countries and specific staple foods themselves. But for now, I wanted to just give you a little bit of an idea of what the rice plant looks like and what the rice grain looks like, and also soybeans, what the soybean pod looks like, and what the soybean itself looks like. They kind of look like just like lima beans or green beans that you would see here in the United States or North America, but they are actually soybeans, which is a different bean. Here at the land, we went over just a little bit. This is a rice paddy, and it's flooded with water because the rice needs a lot of water, and there's water is plentiful over there in these rice paddies, and there's a lot of rain there, and that's how you get this kind of land mass, or this land where rice grows very easily. There's also a lot of tropical areas in South or in Asia, especially Southeast Asia, where you get into the islands. If you go back to the world map and you look at all the islands, there's a lot of tropical islands down here. And all along the east coast of Asia is very tropical as well. So I wanted to show you both rice paddies in the flatlands and the tropical areas that you'll see in the Asian continent. The weather is also seasonal, like it is in a lot of the other continents, and also very tropical, like you get in South America as well. So you'll have, like I said, in these island areas, you'll get the tropical weather, which is, the heavy, warm rains and more humidity in the air, and that kind of an atmosphere, a really wet atmosphere, which goes along with the rice paddies and all the rice that's produced there. Here, the water, again, rain, like we just were talking about, and they have a lot of natural irrigation there, which is what creates these rice paddies. They've created ways to irrigate the rice paddies naturally. So when it rains, the rice paddies flood and it irrigates all the food crops. And so it's really a great way to do that. The picture I'm showing you here is of a rice paddy. You can see that it's filled with water, and the workers that harvest the rice, they are standing in the water as they're harvesting the rice. So it's a really interesting continent. There's tons of amazing, beautiful food that comes from there. If you look over here on the other side of the map, oh, right above the world map, you can see Asia. All of these countries make up Asia. The big orange one in the middle there, that's China. The big, huge blue one at the top, the light blue one at the top, that's part of the Russian countries. That is Siberia, and it's not very populated up there because it's very cold, but very big, large land mass. And then there's all kinds of other countries that you will recognize the names of that we'll get into more later when we talk all about Asian food and and learn how to cook it and everything. The green one at the bottom that kind of juts out, that's India. You have all your islands down here. Lots of interesting countries in Asia to study, and we will get to them all because the food that comes out of this area of the world is just phenomenal. It's amazing. So that's what we're looking at when we're looking at Asia. If you look on the other side of the map here, this is a fun fact that I wanted to tell you guys about. A lot of you may already know that in Asia they eat a lot of times with chopsticks instead of forks and knives, and where that came from is many years ago, there was a philosopher in China named Confucius, and his philosophy was of a peaceful, to be very peaceful and nonviolent. So what happened with chopsticks was at one point resources were scarce, and so the chefs that would make the food were cutting the food into small pieces and cooking it. It took less time to cook and was easier, and they used chopsticks to cook the food, and then they just started eating with those same chopsticks, and they got rid of knives and forks. And Confucius then started the trend. They were using chopsticks already, but when Confucius started using chopsticks to eat with, it was kind of based on this peaceful, nonviolent philosophy that he had of no knives. And so they didn't want to eat with knives anymore. And so they just started using chopsticks. So you'll see kids as young as 1, 2 years old using chopsticks, and American kids have a tough time with chopsticks. They have to actually learn it. I know my kids, have a tough time with it, and it's super fun to go out to one of the Asian restaurants and have chopsticks and try to use it. We usually have to put on little pinchers that help us at first, but then, with practice, you can do it. But little kids, 1, 2-year-old kids are over in Asia using chopsticks as their utensils, and they are pros at it. So I thought that was interesting, where Confucius, the famous Chinese philosopher, comes into overlapping with the Chinese cuisine and the food and the famous chopsticks that come out of the Asian cultures. So very interesting. I hope this was fun. Let's go over and look at a few typical dishes To wrap this up, in Asia, the pictures you see at the top, these are koi fish. They're very popular in Asia. Koi ponds, you've heard of them. Just these big, colorful, fun fish. There's 48 countries in the continent of Asia, and so it's very diverse. And like I said, these are just a few samplings of what you might see in a restaurant or at a home in Asia. So, first for breakfast, a lot of times you'll have rice with an egg. Rice with an egg in a lot of the countries is very typical. You might have a little seaweed in there. You might have a little piece of meat or tiny bits of meat. But in Asian food, a lot of times meat is used to flavor the dish and not as the main course of the dish. So if you remember, in the United States or in North America, meat is often the main course, and in South America also, meat is the main course. In Asia, meat is usually used as just a flavoring. So for breakfast, you may have a bowl of rice with an egg on top of it and maybe some vegetables, and maybe a little piece of meat or something. But very typical breakfast, not something you would see in the United States. If you remember, breakfast in the United States would have the eggs, of course, but it would have maybe pancakes, maybe bacon, maybe bread, maybe hash browns, these types of things, some pancakes. In Asia, you're going to have your bowl of rice, usually with an egg and maybe some veggies. So that's a typical breakfast. Of course, all over Asia, they eat everything for breakfast, all kinds of different things, same as anywhere else in the world. These are just a little bit. These are just a few little examples. For lunch, I wanted to show you a bento box. So these come out of Japan, and basically, it's a little box that you would get, kind of like a little lunch box, and has little containers in it, and in each container uh, is a different type of food. So you might have a ball of rice in one. Here you have at the very back, you have tempura vegetables. It looks like some onions. It could be anything really. Some fried vegetables is what they are. They're breaded and fried. And then you may have some sushi. You see some sushi rolls here in one of the containers, and maybe some salad in one of the containers. So really fun to eat this way. Kids love bento bowls. American kids can buy bento lunch boxes where they have their individual little containers for different kinds of foods. And they may not have rice and sushi in theirs. They may have, I don't know, blueberries and peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something. But bento boxes are really a fun thing, and they come out of the Asian culture. For dinner, this is a picture of a stir fry. This is very typical meal in a lot of the Asian countries. It basically, you cook it in a big wok, which is a big round bottom pan. You heat it up really hot, put some oil in it, heat the oil up really hot, and then you put your vegetables in and stir them around with maybe some soy sauce and some flavor. And then you would add meat and maybe some noodles. This is a noodle stir fry, or you would just have your meat and your veggies, and you'd stir them up. It could be chicken, it could be beef, it could be pork, and you just cook it really fast over in this hot pan, and it cooks it really quickly. It caramelizes the soy sauce that you're using to flavor it with, and it creates a really great flavor of the vegetables and the meats together. A lot of stir fries are served over rice, of course, or noodles, like you see here. So that's just a typical meal that you might see in all different countries in Asia. For a snack, this is a picture of spring rolls. So these are wontons, which is dough that is very thin, and it's wrapped around vegetables, basically very thin cut vegetables. And these are usually dipped in some sweet and spicy sauces. There's lots of different types of, these are spring rolls. There's egg rolls. These are very typical in all over Asia, and there's different kinds. You may have the dough may be of made out of rice and see-through. The outside may be made out of wheat, like here. All different variations, but this is kind of like if you remember back to South America where we had the empanada, which was dough filled with meat. This is kind of the Asian version of that, which is a dough filled with veggies, and sometimes it's also filled with meat, but a lot of times veggies. Good snack, really, really tasty. I actually have some frozen. rolls like this in my freezer right now. You can get them all over the place, but they come from the Asian culture. For dessert, this is a picture of mochi. Mochi is a gelatinous rice. And it is pounded and sugar is added, and these are rolled and then rolled in powdered sugar. And they're just little bite sized sweet treats. And a lot of times you can get mochi as a dessert in Asia. So this is a little bit of a look into the Asian food and the Asian culture. And I want you to remember the staples that come from Asia. I want you to remember where Asia is in the world. I want you to remember our fun fact about chopsticks. I want you to remember all about what your staples are in the first place. I want you to understand all about your world. And I want you to have a great time as you're thinking about what you like to eat and where all the foods come from, and geographically why certain foods are more popular or more abundant in some areas of the world than others. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Stay with Sizzle Kids, and we will do a lot more on geography and food. It's one of my favorites. Those are both of my favorite subjects. So have fun with this. And the last continent that we're going to be looking at is Australia. So I will see you over there.